September ended up being something of a torrid month for those holding silver, with the price dropping by almost $3, around about 15% on the month. So does this mean the recovery is over and it's time to sell silver? Hello, I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and this is our monthly update on the price of silver. It was something of a brutal month if you were holding silver. Plenty of volatility. It did start out in September, pushing out again to a multi-year high, but we saw those gains swiftly reversed and a sharp turnaround. Coming into October, it's still a little bit weak. So what we're going to do in this video, we're going to have a quick look at what happened during September. I'll come back, talk about the reasons why, then we'll go back onto the platform and look at silver in a bit more detail and see just where it could go during October and place a trade. As usual, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, click on subscribe, support the channel. It's a really popular market, silver, with our clients, because our spread, our bid offer spread, is only sort of 2 or 3 cents on the market. You'll see that in a minute. But let's get into it first of all and catch up with what happened over the last 4 weeks to the silver price. So let's have a quick look at what happened with silver during September. Then I'll talk a bit more about the reasons why. We'll come back, look at things in a bit more detail, and place our trade for October. If you're a silver bull during September, it was a pretty brutal month. We saw the market trade up to the highs really for this move. It's added something like 30% from where it was from the lows in May. So in a little over 3 months, we've seen a 30% rise in the price of silver. So it punched up towards sort of 1960, that sort of level. But then you can see the turnaround, during the month, trading as low so far at the beginning of October, below $17. And I thought what I'd picked up on down here is the average true range. I've got this indicator on here, and it just shows that the typical volatility. This is over a 10-day period, and you can see how much volatility picked up again in September. So we saw a significant decline. The question now is this actually the end of this recovery, or is it just another buying opportunity? We're going to come back and look at this in a bit more detail. But first of all, let me just talk about the reasons why and the big levels to watch out for during October. We're going to go back into that in a second and place our trade. But first of all, let's talk about why we saw this turnaround. Well, I think probably the bigger reason, as we've seen with gold, is the strength of the US dollar. Even coming into October, we've seen the US dollar push out to its best levels since May 2017. So anything that's denominated in dollars, like gold or silver, for example, is going to feel the squeeze when we see that sort of strength. So a stronger dollar has definitely not helped the price of silver. Also as well, let's look at the size of the rise. From late May to early September, the price jumped by about 35%. That is a big move for a major market like silver. And I think it's fair to say here, well, had it just overshot on the upside, we had the rise of the price clearly bringing in more speculative buyers. When speculative buyers change their mind, we do see things turn around pretty quickly. And I'm wondering if that did happen. During September, we saw some of those late buyers getting flushed out. But I think October is going to be interesting, because already we've had really poor manufacturing data from the US early this week. We've seen the weakest numbers in manufacturing activity in more than 10 years, and we saw the stock market hit heavily. If we do see continued worries about the state of the US economy, you would expect that to lift the price of defensive assets like silver and gold. So I think we're in for a few interesting weeks ahead. Before we get back onto the chart, let's just look at the big levels to watch if you're trading silver during October. So we've got that big psychological level up at $20 an ounce for silver. Below that, we have those very early September highs at $19.65. But I think the most immediate high is the one from where we've seen it try to recover but fail at around about $18.75 an ounce. I think where it gets a bit more interesting is on the downside, because we are near to some big levels left on the way up. So for me, the really big level to watch for short-term traders is the low we've seen in the month so far. It's very early in the month, but around about $16.85 from the 1st of October. After that, it's the mid-August low around about $16.50. These are going to be pretty key for our trade. So let's get back onto the platform and see what the trade is for October. So let's just remind ourselves the big picture of silver. So the price had been in decline since actually 2011. If we go back to the highs, up around about $50 an ounce. But what we've picked up on recently, this decline from 2016, summer of 2016, and the price this year has looked like it's turning around, and clearly we had finally this decisive breakout in July 2019. So let's take a look at the recovery since those May lows and see if that's still valid. And for my money, looking at this, it still is. You know, we had the price massively accelerate during August and early September. And since then, we've seen a sharp reversal. But in the great scheme of things, the recovery for silver is still chugging along. I talked about the big levels to watch, you know, and here they are on the chart. We have the low, which is only from, what, 6 weeks ago, back at $16.50 an ounce. And after that, we've got the lows from right at the beginning of August, just below $16 an ounce. So I think we have lots of big levels for silver just below where we are now. So if it's going to turn around, then I think there's a reasonable chance of it happening in October. So for me, I'd be watching to see if we see some strength start coming back in. We had a bit of strength yesterday, the strongest move we've had in silver for over a week on those weaker than expected US manufacturing data. So we saw a bit more of an appetite for safe havens like silver yesterday. Looking at the RSI down here, this is pretty much the most oversold it's been since late May, because of course the price has accelerated so strongly. So again, that does suggest that perhaps we are coming to the end of this slide. So for me, the only thing that would change our mind, I think if we start to lose $16.50, the mid-August lows, that is a bit concerning, you know, and then if we slip below 16, it does look like that this recovery is actually over and the risk is for a drift back. But I think for now, I'd be watching to see for the buyers to come back in and for the price to recover and push back into the 18s initially and maybe even higher. I mean, clearly I think we've got to break this pretty major barrier up here around about 1875, but let's just take it, you know, one step at a time. At a time of recording, it is still weak. It's below this 20-day moving average, but we are oversold. So for my money, I think it'd be interesting to see if we can see silver build a base during October. And just have a quick look at the short-term chart. You know, this is the decline really from the end of September into October, and it's only early days, but we are showing the first signs on the hourly chart at least of breaking out of that slide. And again, it was this weaker than expected US manufacturing data that helped, you know, park up, I think, some of the silver buyers earlier this week. But let's have a look at getting our trade on for the month. We've got a few trades on silver running anyway, and we have given back a chunk of profit on those trades. You know, in hindsight, we would have been better off moving the stop loss, but we only do this video once a month, and I don't really want to tinker with the positions during a month. I think, you know, let's just do it whenever we look at the market. So let's take a look at the trade for silver. So really what I want to do, I want to buy in because I think that we're going to see the strength come back during October. And the only question is, well, where does the stop loss go? And I think we could do quite an aggressive trade here. Let's place it below those lows, those mid-August lows. I think if it starts losing, what, $16.50, the risk is we're going to push lower still. So let's set the trade up by clicking buy. So the first thing I want to do is put the stop loss in. So 16.50 is the level. I'm going to go 16.25 for the stop on silver. So at the moment, if I buy now, my risk is only £8. Normally on these trades, we have a risk of £200. So let's just bump the size up on that trade. So I've bumped the size up to 245. So for a buyer of 245 ounces, where the market's trading now, with a stop at 16.25, then our risk is just over, you can see down there, a couple of £100. So that's it. Let's get the trade on. We'll click on buy. As usual, we have bottom left, the confirmation comes up, adding to our positions on silver. And you can see it's come on the chart now. So we bought 245. There's my stop loss on the chart, below 25 cents below that low from mid-August. So what I'm looking for here is really the strength to come back in ahead of those August lows and for this trend to resume and for the market to push higher. To track the position, we go to portfolio. You can see we've got quite a few trades running in there. Silver trades are all down here. So here is the latest one we did just at the bottom. So this is the fourth silver trade, so quite a bit of exposure on this account for silver. Let's see how it turns out over over the next few weeks. And if I want to, I can close out some of these trades now, but let's leave them running. We've got stop losses in place at various different levels. If we see silver bounce back, clearly it's going to help these trades. But for me, I think it is all about these recent lows from early and mid-August, and we need to see these hold to confirm that really this recovery since May in silver is intact. So I think we're in for a really interesting month when it comes to trading silver. I should say, of course, that the trades that we place in these videos, they are for educational purposes only. They are not financial advice, but I think it makes it a bit more interesting, as we've seen in the previous silver trades, to come back and see how things are doing. So I think it is going to be a really interesting month for silver, and to see whether it can turn things around. As usual, to never miss out on our content for the various markets that we look at, gold, silver, oil, other markets as well, make sure you're subscribed. And if you click on the alarm bell notification, you get automatically notified every time we upload a new video. But for this month's update on silver, we'll leave it there. So from me, David Jones, and Capital.com, good luck with your trading.